Luna Voss had always found it amusing that humanity's potential extinction would smell like burnt coffee and industrial disinfectant. The emergency klaxon screaming through Nexus Biotech's Level 7 containment facility really completed the ambience. Nothing says, "We're all going to die," quite like that particular shade of red lighting bouncing off sterile walls. She pressed her palm against the blast door's bioscanner, watching the progress bar crawl toward full authorization while her modified nervous system processed the chaos behind her at roughly 3 times normal human speed. 47 predators had broken containment 6 minutes ago. Her team was scattered, probably dead, and the facility's AI had already begun its countdown to total sterilization. In 12 minutes, everything within a 2-kilometer radius would be reduced to component atoms. "Dr. Voss, you need to evacuate immediately." The facility's voice was maddeningly calm, like a yoga instructor announcing the apocalypse. "Yeah, that's not happening." Luna stepped through the door as it hissed open, sealing herself inside the primary observation chamber. Through the reinforced glass, she could see them, writhing masses of neural tissue that looked like someone had crossed a jellyfish with a fiber optic cable and given the result a serious attitude problem. The predators weren't just parasites, despite what the board of directors preferred to believe. Luna had spent 3 years studying their behavior, their impossible coordination, their ability to process information at quantum speeds. They were scouts. The question was, scouts for what? She activated her wrist display, fingers dancing across holographic interfaces with practiced efficiency. Her biomedical readout showed elevated adrenaline, increased neural conductivity, and the faint electromagnetic signature of her immune system's most expensive modification, the one Nexus didn't know about. "Recording final log entry," she said, though she doubted anyone would be alive to review it. Dr. Luna Voss, Senior Xenobiologist. Time is 1437, containment has failed, and I'm about to do something monumentally stupid. Through the glass, she watched the predators flow like liquid mercury, their movements synchronized in ways that shouldn't be possible without some kind of shared consciousness. Each one was roughly the size of a house cat, but their semi-translucent bodies pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to respond to her presence. They knew she was watching. They always knew. "The thing about being a predator," Luna continued, overriding the chamber's environmental controls, "is that you need to understand your prey. But what happens when your prey understands you right back?" The atmospheric seals disengaged with a soft pneumatic sigh. Immediately, the predators oriented toward the breach, their light patterns shifting to something that almost looked like excitement. Or hunger. With alien neurology, the distinction was academic. Luna had run the calculations dozens of times. Her modified immune system, a cocktail of synthetic antibodies, engineered T-cells, and nanoscale defensive protocols, would recognize the predator's neural intrusion as a catastrophic threat. The rejection response would be violent, spectacular, and completely fatal to both the parasite and the host. But in the 30 seconds before she died, the predator would experience something it had never encountered before, a human immune system designed specifically to cause maximum suffering to neural parasites. The pain would propagate through their shared consciousness like a shockwave, carrying with it a very clear message. "You see," she said, stepping closer to the nearest predator as it raised what might charitably be called a head, "I'm not trying to kill you. I'm trying to teach you." The creature's surface rippled with patterns that reminded Luna of language, if language could be written in electricity and intent. Its feeding appendage, a crystalline tube that could punch through skull bone like tissue paper, extended toward her with predatory grace. "The lesson," Luna whispered, not backing away, "is that some prey bite back." The appendage struck with surgical precision, piercing the base of her skull and beginning its neural insertion. Luna felt the familiar cold burn of foreign tissue making contact with her brainstem, followed immediately by her immune system's recognition protocols kicking into overdrive. Her modified antibodies didn't just attack the invading organism. They began systematically dismantling it at the molecular level, releasing cascades of inflammatory compounds that turned her nervous system into a chemical weapon. The predator's feeding tube convulsed as toxins flowed backward through its body, carrying with them the full fury of 3 years' worth of targeted bioengineering. Through the growing haze of neurological collapse, Luna felt a moment of profound connection. The creature's consciousness touched hers, and for an instant, she experienced its perspective, the vast network of shared thought, the hunger not for sustenance but for understanding, the desperate need to prepare its kind for something vast and approaching. They weren't invaders at all. They were refugees. The realization hit her just as her heart stopped, the knowledge flowing through the predator's neural link and into the collective consciousness of every creature in the facility. Her death wasn't just a warning. It was a translation, the first successful communication between their species. As Luna's vision faded, she could see the other predators recoiling from their shared experience of her engineered immune response. Their light patterns had shifted to something that looked almost like fear, but underneath that, something else entirely. Recognition. Respect. And perhaps, the beginning of wisdom. We had never experienced death before. The concept existed in our collective understanding, cessation of function, termination of neural activity, the end of consciousness. But experiencing it through the human Luna's engineered immune response was like being forced to taste fire while drowning in acid. Her modified antibodies didn't just kill our scout, they turned the dying process into a symphony of agony that echoed through every node of our shared awareness. The lesson was unmistakable: this species could weaponize their own biology against us. 46 of us recoiled from the observation chamber, our bioluminescent patterns flickering in what humans might call horror. But underneath the fear, something else pulsed through our network, a grudging admiration. The human Luna had engineered her own death as a teaching tool, sacrificing herself to deliver a message we couldn't have ignored if we'd wanted to. The message was simple: we are not prey. Through our dying scout's final neural impressions, we absorbed fragments of Luna's consciousness, her memories, her understanding of our nature, her knowledge of what we truly were. The irony wasn't lost on us that we learned more about ourselves in 30 seconds of her death than in 3 years of our own reconnaissance. We weren't the first to flee. Across the galaxy, 12 species had already made the same desperate choice, abandoning their dying worlds to find new hosts, new homes, new chances at survival. The hunger wasn't just consuming our birth system. It was spreading, devouring everything in its path with a patience that made geological time look like the blink of an eye. Humanity's world was next. We had perhaps 50 of their years before the hunger arrived, and we needed their species to be ready. But Luna's death had shown us something crucial: forced integration would never work. Her bioengineered immune system wasn't an anomaly, it was a prototype. Humanity was already preparing for war with parasitic species, already developing defenses against neural intrusion. They had learned to fear us before they learned to understand us. The facility's sterilization countdown reached its final minute. Around us, the Nexus building's automated systems began their preparation for total atomic dissolution. In 60 seconds, everything within 2 kilometers would be reduced to its component elements. We could escape. Our quantum-entangled biology made physical barriers meaningless. We existed partially outside normal spacetime, an adaptation that had allowed us to survive the hunger's initial assault on our homeworld. But escaping meant abandoning the only successful communication we'd ever achieved with humanity. Luna's death had been a gift. Now we had to decide what to do with it. The facility's AI began its final countdown. Sterilization in 30 seconds. All biological matter will be eliminated. Through our shared consciousness, we reached a decision that would have been impossible for any individual member of our species. We would remain. Not all of us, 7 would escape to carry the message to our scattered colonies across the galaxy. But the rest would stay, allowing ourselves to be destroyed alongside the evidence of our presence. The humans would find Luna's body. They would analyze her modified immune system, study the toxins that had killed our scout, and draw the obvious conclusion: she had found a way to kill us. Her sacrifice would be remembered as humanity's first victory against the predator threat. But hidden in her neural modifications, encoded in the quantum signatures of her bioengineered antibodies, was a different message entirely. A message that would take their scientists years to decode, but when they did, they would understand. We are not your enemy. We are your future. The hunger was coming. When it arrived, humanity would need to be ready for integration or extinction. Luna's death had shown us that forced symbiosis was impossible, but perhaps voluntary cooperation wasn't. Sterilization in 10 seconds. We felt the first wave of atomic dissolution beginning at the facility's outer perimeter, racing inward at the speed of light. In our shared consciousness, we experienced something we had never felt before: hope. The humans would survive our arrival. They would decode Luna's message. And when the hunger finally reached their world, they would understand that we hadn't come as invaders. We were the vaccine. And Luna Voss, in her final moments, had shown us exactly how to work. The sterilization wave reached us, and we felt our consciousness scatter across dimensions, carrying with us the memory of one human's impossible courage and the knowledge that perhaps, just perhaps, two species could learn to save each other. In the end, the predator had become the prey. And the prey had become the teacher. The lesson was complete.